Will Rockstar make another GTA spin-off game at any point in the future? Or at least a single-player DLC? This is something that I've been thinking about for some time, as we haven't had one in about 15 years as of making this video, with the last spin-off game being Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars, released in 2009, which I personally consider to be one of the most underrated games in the entire franchise. Now, a spin-off game is essentially any GTA game that doesn't end with a numeral, so GTA 1 through GTA 6, if we were to include it, would all be mainline games, and anything else, so Vice City, San Andreas, Advance, the Stories games, and Chinatown Wars, would all be spin-offs. And we also have games like the London expansions for GTA 1 and GTA 4's episodes from Liberty City, which are DLCs, but they could also count as spin-offs. Although, by that definition, GTA Online could also be classified as a spin-off, making my opening statement false, but I won't include it. So from a total of 17 games in the franchise, 11 of them are spin-offs, and they have all contributed to making GTA what it is today, giving us multiple renditions of the same cities, in which we play from the lens of dozens of different protagonists, each with their stories, and the games themselves, each having something that is unique to them. Now, all of these spin-offs take way less time and resources to develop than the mainline entry games, as they don't necessarily have to improve much, if at all, when compared to them. Take the GTA trilogy for example. It includes GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, so one mainline game that heavily improved on its predecessor GTA 2, switching from the 2D era to a fully fledged 3D open world, which took a lot of effort, resources, time, and dedication to make it flawless. We then got Vice City, which took less than a year to develop, initially starting as a mission pack, so basically a DLC, but ending up as its own game, making a few tweaks and improvements from the OG game, and adding things that were missing, like bikes and helicopters. The most time-consuming thing of these games is development, and I'm just making assumptions here, so take it with a grain of salt, was probably just the map itself, as most of the heavy lifting part of making the game, like pedestrians and cars intelligence, wanted system, driving physics, and many others, were pretty much ported over from GTA 3 with just a few tweaks and changes here and there, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The same thing can be said for GTA San Andreas. Although it is a much bigger game than 3 or VC, at its roots, it's still based on GTA 3, and much of the work was reused for the mechanics and systems of the game, because again, why would you do it from scratch when it already works just fine? And with GTA 4 and the episodes from Liberty City, things are even easier, as the map only required a few small changes and a couple of new interiors. 90% of the cars and pads are the same, most animations are the same, all that's different are the characters, missions, and a few side activities. And that's great, as I think both The Lost and Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony are amazing expansions of GTA 4's story. Okay, so if these spin-off games take less time, effort, and resources on Rockstar's side, and most of them are as popular and have sold just as much as the mainline games, with a few notable exceptions, why did they stop making them? And will we ever see another spin-off game or a single-player DLC? I'm inclined to think that the chances of it ever happening again are very slim, and let's see why that is the case. First and foremost, Rockstar's vision as a company has changed drastically in the last 10 years. Back in the day, getting at least one game every year was pretty much the norm, but more often than not, we got multiple games from them in the same year, and from a multitude of franchises, not just GTA. Not every single one of these games was made solely by Rockstar, as GTA Advance, for example, was made in collaboration with Digital Eclipse Studios, with Rockstar doing mostly the creative work and writing of the story, characters, plot points, etc. And other games we associate with Rockstar, like the first two Max Payne games, are sort of in the same category, although in this case, Rockstar was just the publisher of them. Nowadays, Rockstar's vision when it comes to making and releasing games is more focused on quality, attention to detail, and much deeper stories with extremely well-written characters. Take Red Dead Redemption 2 for example. While many people have mixed feelings on the actual gameplay and its mechanics, I think almost everyone can agree that it has one of the best written stories from Rockstar themselves, but also in gaming overall, or at least quite high up there, and the game took roughly 7 to 8 years for its development, which is far from what I'd call a short amount of time. And let's take GTA 6 into consideration as well. While the game isn't out yet and details regarding development are a total mystery right now, we can make a few educated guesses. If writing on the game started around fall of 2016, when Red Dead Redemption 2 was beginning its marketing campaign, and if 6 releases as planned in fall of 2025, that would be a development time of 9 years. Of course, active development couldn't have started until fall of 2018 when RDR2 released, so that would only make it 7 years. And of course, eliminating crunch culture from the company, firing people, hiring new ones, changes to the policies of working from home, and many others have all contributed a fair bit into increasing the time it takes to get the finished product. And I'm glad things have changed for the better within the company, because honestly I do not want the game 1 year earlier if it means that the developers are overworked. Okay, but how is all of what I just said relevant to the discussion? Well, it's clear that Rockstar wants their games to become bigger and bigger, better and better written, and making sure that every upcoming game is more impressive and innovative than the last one. They aren't focused as much on giving us tons and tons of new games that are more or less the same. They shifted to only giving us quote-unquote flagship games, which again take ages to make in comparison to spin-offs and DLCs. By now, most of you have seen and heard about the long list of potential single-player DLC content that we were supposed to get for GTA 5, like alien invasions, zombie apocalypse, although we at least got Undead Nightmare for Red Dead 1, Agent Trevor, which just got repurposed for the Doomsday DLC in online, and even map expansions like North Yankton and Liberty City. As a business, when faced with the choice of keeping the single-player component alive by adding tons of new content every once in a while, or instead, use most of those ideas for the online counterpart, which keeps that one alive, takes less effort, and in the long run generates you way more money than the single player ever could because of shark cards, it's a no-brainer for them. I have expressed my desire for GTA 6 to bring back single-player DLCs, as it keeps things fresher and makes the waiting in between mainline entry games feel a bit shorter. But GTA 6 Online will for sure kill off any chance if it proves to be as successful as its predecessor, GTA 5 Online. And it obviously will be, but we can only hope for a miracle to happen. What's even crazier than hearing that GTA 5 had several DLC ideas scrapped and repurposed for online is that the 3D era of GTAs was supposed to have even more spin-off games than we ever got. Like a GTA that takes place in Tokyo, a GTA zombie game, but again we did get Undead Nightmare, so it did happen eventually in some way, and even a planned online mode for GTA 3 back in 2001. Imagine if GTA 3 Online did happen and they figured a way to introduce and milk that game. Or rather GTA 4, cause that one would have been more realistic. Maybe now we would have been spamming Rockstar with "Where's GTA 5" instead of GTA 6. But on a more serious note, there's a lot of things that came into play when asking why we haven't seen a GTA spin-off game in over 15 years. While the dream of that or a single player expansion isn't 100% dead, the chances of them ever seeing the light of day are increasingly becoming smaller. And that's quite sad to realize. But instead of ending on a sad note, let's put our creative hats on and talk about a few spin-off games, like potentially making stories games like LCS and VCS, but for the HD universe. So something like GTA Los Santos stories, or even something less complicated like Chinatown Wars, which was a 2D or rather 2.5D game, but instead have it take place in a 2D version of either modern day Los Santos or Vice City. How cool would that be? As for the 3D era games, I've talked on this channel before about San Andreas Stories, which never came out. And if you're interested on why I think it never saw the light of day, check that video down below. I wouldn't expect Rockstar to ever return and downgrade to PS2 level games again, unless it's for a remaster. But many people don't want their favorite games butchered again, so I don't know about that one. All in all, I think it's safe to assume that the era of spin-off after spin-off game is long gone. But the chances of one dropping at some point in the future aren't exactly 0%, so we'll have to see. But what do you think? Are we gonna see another single player DLC, or is everything reserved for the online component? And what spin-off game would you like to see? Who would be a returning character that becomes a protagonist? In which era and city would you want it to take place, and how would the story unfold? I'm curious to hear your desires and ideas in the comment section down below. And while you're there, also leave a like. And of course, consider subscribing if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching.